Hello, Internet. Welcome back to another edition of Eric's Corner with the Word of the Not So Wise. Being joined here by my buddy Alf. Something I got as a keepsake from Grandpa when he passed away. Got it from his house, and my cousin was pissed because he was looking for it. Yeah, snooze you lose, dude. So, anyway, today we're just gonna throw one episode kind of off the cuff here. I was talking to my neighbor across the parking lot about just wealth, making money. You know, him and I, total, tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists. Him and I jive really close on a lot of political and social issues, which is kind of weird because, I want to have him here on the show, but when you first see him, he's got like this laid back, like surfer, like shakaba, bro, like, oh, just is what it is, kind of like super laid back kind of demeanor. And it was kind of weird that we agreed on things to me because he just kind of doesn't seem like him and I would jive on these things. But so the idea came up of like how much is too much money, because I was talking about, I was like, man, all I need to make is a couple $100,000 a year, or it'd be great to have $1 million in the bank, but what would I do with it? We both kind of have pretty simple simple taste. I mean, I don't need brand new trucks, I don't need a mansion, I don't need an $80 million yacht, at least I don't feel like I do. And he's kind of the same way. I just need something to be left for my kids, and something where you're just not struggling and having to go to work sick as a dog because you need that extra $400 in your paycheck or less. We're talking about Jeff Bezos and, of course, Elon Musk, and we talked about what their worth is. The owner of Amazon, he's worth a half a trillion dollars or whatever. 500 billion is the spec, but what does it mean to be worth something versus have something? The owners of Walmart, their worth is including what the buildings their merchandise is in. They don't have that cash on hand in their pocket. They've got semis, trailers, forklifts, warehouses, all this heavy equipment, big liability. They've got just the merchandise in the stores alone is worth a lot of money. So, when people are doing all this griping, like, oh, well, they have all this net worth, but that also includes what their stock is worth too. And I'm going to get into that. I did my episode about stock, and I frankly don't understand a lot of it. That's the stock they have, and if they sold it, yeah. How much cash, are these people actually pocketing a year? Okay, $5 billion a year goes into their pocket, cash in hand in the bank, let's say. Well, it seems to me like I feel like the lowest paid employee at Amazon should make $25-30 an hour, because your employees are the people that are going to help your company grow. Stocks, okay, I get it. The investors should have, reward for their stake also. They invested money in your company, used that money, you grew your company, they should get kickback. But when a stock goes from $1 a share to $30 a share overnight or in 3 or 4 days, you don't think that any company you gave that money to bought a fleet of trucks, built a warehouse, massively expanded their business or whatever. They didn't do that overnight. Why did their stock go up? It's like, well, because more people bought it. There's not actually anything behind that, kind of like any of our currency that's being propped up by the Federal Reserve, which is a scam. An investor should get kickback for risking their money to put into your company. Cool, that's fine. But once your stock hits $30-40 a share, why aren't you just paying your employees more? Your employees are the ones who are going to grow your company. Your employees, investing in stocks is one of the most narcissistic things you can do. Like, oh, I put $1 a share, which I do, but I don't mean overall narcissistic. I mean on the, as far as being vested in your company. Okay, I threw some money in, cool, I made money, I pulled it right back out. I don't give a shit if the company goes under. I had stock in OCGN, and they partnered with Bahard something. It was a pharmaceutical company. Well, during the COVID explosion, well, what happened? Their stock went way up. It's down to 49 cents a share. It was up 12. I think I sold out at like 12 or 13 bucks a share. And it went down, and then it went way up at like 16 bucks a share, and then, went back down and obviously just flatlined. And I don't give a shit. I sold my shares. I have a few left. So at what point do you just start overpaying your employees? And I get it, supply and demand. If you can pay somebody $6 an hour, why not do it? And again, me personally, I don't need an $80 million yacht, but these people with all this money who frivolously spend on things, well, the guy that built that yacht, they've got, minimum wage employees, from the guys sweeping floors all the way up to your master craftsmen that are making these things absolutely freaking gorgeous. Those people, they're giving those people money who are paying taxes on the income and so on and so forth. But, who's going to help your business grow? The shareholders who just bail at the first sign of anything unsettling, or the people that are coming to work for you every day. We talked about trickle down economics. And that was supposed to be what it is. And, capitalism is great. We should have these people with all this money and so forth. And, they're accused of, wealth hoarding. Well, it takes a lot of money to run the research and development. It takes a lot of money to run these businesses. And they have again, back to shareholders, they have an obligation to their shareholders. If everybody sells their stock, they have to have that cash on hand to pay this stock out. But, when they don't, that's where the government bailouts come in. And this is my take on it. I could be very wrong. I was talking to my brother-in-law, who is really sharp on a lot of things. And he was saying, like, yeah, but you sell your stock, but then somebody else buys it. Yeah, but what happens when nobody's buying? Where does that money come from? They have an obligation to their shareholders. So if they have $1 billion in stock, they have to have that cash on hand. And that's not hoarding. And they're paying interest on that, or I'm sorry, not interest. Interest is getting paid on that money in the bank, and they have to pay capital gains taxes. So it is still getting taxed. So, I don't have a real great understanding of things, but neither do most of you. I don't mean you, my listeners. You as the general population. They say, why do they have all this money and this, that, and the other thing? And they say, oh, well, they're not paying taxes on things. And no, wealthy people are going to find ways to dodge taxes. And so would you. I've literally put out an episode on how to avoid paying taxes, because they're just pissing it all away. And somebody put up a really good video. If you live in California, you make $1.5 million a year. He broke down the taxes, Social Security, state income, federal income, this, that, and the other thing, and it came down to about half. So and he didn't even include property tax, because that's a variable. Because let's assume this person that lives there pays, because you don't pay that based on income, you pay it based on what the property is worth. Well, somebody worth more money is probably gonna have more valuable property. But let's just say they live in a camper. So if you take that $750,000 that's left and you go to the store and buy, let's just say $500,000 in groceries, 25% sales tax, you're going to pay another $125,000 in taxes. So they almost tax 100% of your income. If you make $1 million, and after yearly expenditures, gas your car, blah, 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 all those things that you buy throughout the year, if you spend $500,000, you pay, you pay almost all of your money in taxes. You literally have $125,000 left over after your expenditures and the taxes and everything. And that is absolutely mind-boggling. And you wonder why people with lots of money try so hard to dodge taxes, because you have nothing. They will literally tax all of your money. And they, was it Tucker Carlson? I think maybe it was him, but he basically said if you confiscated 100% of every billionaire's money, you could run the federal government for 8 months. So maybe we should cut back on spending. We are struggling to buy groceries here. I'm not, but I could be very easily. And we just gave 200 something billion to Ukraine. I mean, I just do not understand why America has just become the world's freaking sugar daddy here. It it is just, it's just mind numbing. And I mean, I get away with not paying very much in taxes. Well, I have 4 children. So you know, a lot of what I would pay gets absorbed there, but you know, I still pay sales tax, still paying property tax. Well, I don't pay much in property tax either because as a disabled veteran, I get $100,000 of property tax waived a year, and my place is only worth $125,000, so I pay property tax on 25 grand, which is kind of nice. So, so anyway, if you know, you could argue like, well, you don't know how you would be if I, you know, say I make 10 million a year. I don't know how I would really react with that kind of money, but I mean, I feel like I would be pretty generous and helpful with it, because I mean, I am now with my not really great income. I had a buddy blew the water pump on his Tahoe and like a week later hit a moose and disabled his car. It wasn't totaled, but he couldn't drive it. You know, trashed the windshield and everything else. And I was like, you know what? I'll throw a water pump in your rig. I'll get the parts. You know, I got the tools. I'll do it. You know, just Merry Christmas. Pay me back someday. If not, I don't give a shit. I'll never hit you up for it. And I didn't really have the extra money for this at the time, but it's like, well, you know, I did not have it either, obviously. So I ended up having the little dive shop down the road put the pump in, because I was like, whatever, it'll be a couple $100. I'm not gonna. It was right, you know, again, I mentioned it's right by Christmas, and I was going to Fairbanks, and it's like, well, I just don't have time to do this. I want to get you back on the road as soon as possible, so I'll just pay a shop to do it. And ended up taking like 3 weeks to get it done. So I was like, well, shit, I could have done it, but either way, so got him back on the road. So I mean, I am helpful to people. You know, see somebody in the ditch, I'll pull them out. You know, really more of an Alaska thing, obviously. You know, just a lot of little things like that. You know, see somebody alongside the road needs help changing a tire. You know, I feel like I would be very helpful with that kind of money. And you know, overpay employees if need be, because you know, they increased the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is the new $6.50 an hour. And then people went to their employer and said, well, cut my hours because I make too much to get the government handouts. It's like, well, goddamn, that's not why we raised the minimum wage. We did it to get rid of corporate welfare, which part of that is obviously letting them dodge taxes, which they do, and then subsidizing their employees' income. Now, I mean, they've done a beautiful job of rebranding socialism, because that's basically what we are. We're a very socialist country. It is redistributing wealth and just dragging the dead weight along of people that just don't contribute. Now, I'm not saying everybody who works a minimum wage job is dead weight and just doesn't contribute, but you know, I just don't understand why on earth you had 5 kids when you work at a minimum wage job. You know, you need to, you know, get yourself going before you try and have this big family. You know, go, and you know, that's what the government does. Like, okay, and I'm not saying that, okay, you're working a base job at Walmart. You know, you're a cashier, which I assume is a pretty low paying job. You know, I'm not saying that they should make $42 an hour because, well, that's a livable wage. And I hate the word livable wage. It's so vague and just such a generic thing to say. But, well, a livable wage for you to scrape by and, you know, support these children is, say, $35 an hour. Okay, well, I'm going to pay you that and pay this guy right next to you, the kid fresh out of high school who's working here part-time trying to put himself through college. Well, he gets to make $15 an hour, though. Well, that isn't right. But then that's what we do is we all pay taxes, and then the government subsidizes and then pays the other person to support their family, which just simply is not how we should be doing this. You know, I just kind of feel like, I mean, if you work if you're flipping burgers or doing a base, you know, obviously fast food is the go-to as an example for a base job. But I mean, if you just want to do that for 20 years, why after 20 years aren't you making you know, a pretty good wage? Again, I'm not saying you should make more than the manager, but I mean, that person's probably pretty good at their job, and they're training other people to do this job. So, I mean, you know, I would like to see there be, I mean, goddamn, you can't get the government involved in these things either, and that's part of the problem is, oh, it's corporate welfare, and this capitalism has failed, and the government, just turn it over to the government. Well, I mean, if you think capitalism has failed, stand by for fucking socialism, because it is not going to work better. Because I mean, God, I just cannot keep Alf up here, can I? I mean, because I mean that's what government does. It just grows big, and then the politicians embezzle all the money. You're not getting a fair cut from that either. Just take everybody's money who produces and give it to people who don't. That's not going to work. So, I mean, I don't want to see government get involved, but it would be kind of nice if stock, once it hits a certain point, it's like, well, you just shouldn't be a publicly traded company, or hey, once stock hits a certain amount, once it hits 35 or X percentage, maybe, but it's got to go off of a percentage. Once it hits X percentage of what a company's worth, it can't go higher. I mean, as an investor, I invest at 25 a share, it hits 30, and I just say, hey, either I'm going to just take the dividends, or I'm going to go ahead and sell off there, and maybe cap it out somewhere. Which again, I mean, I'm not saying that's just a random thought. I'm not saying it should be like that, because that's stupid. Also, because then why would people invest in your company? But the company should not be so loyal to shareholders, because that just simply that obviously isn't working. Again, I'm not saying the guy at the top shouldn't make a lot of money, because they should. You took the risk. My boss, I mean, he has 60 something employees. And he's like, well, if I'm only making $100,000 a year, why would I work these 80-hour freaking weeks and jump through his own asshole? And, taking his time, his valuable time to train me to hang sheetrock or to frame, why on earth would he do it? Then every business owner says, screw it, why own a business? My money's capped out at $100,000 a year. I'll just go work for somebody else for $100,000 a year. It's like, well, that person sold their business too, and now there's no businesses to work for. But I just... once you hit so many millions, I just don't, that's where the trickle down economics was supposed to happen. Like, well, you're making this company all this money, make your employees money. So, yeah, I've been talking for probably 15 minutes and I have not stated any solution. I mean, I haven't even boiled down the actual problem, because, I mean, I've stated some problems, but that's part of the problem with government. They don't even find a problem, they just attach a solution to something to make it look like they're actually fixing something, and they're not. So we got to turn off the spigot of infinite flow of minimum wage, low income employees coming over our border, which I just do not understand how this is a Republican versus Democrat issue. I mean, we can only take so many people in, and oh, well, we're a sanctuary city. Oh, well, we can't take in 30 people. We don't have the resources. Well, fuck me. Texas doesn't have the resource for 100,000 people every 4 days either. I just do not understand how you are not putting 2 and 2 together. This is basic observation. So the only thing I can boil it down to is it's by design. This is intentional to trash the country, to blame the other party. Which getting off task there, or off subject. So anyway, I hope you like my tangent. I've gotten a lot of extra, subscribers, so smash that subscribe button and share my videos. Spread the word of whatever is on my mind this 15 minutes. So thank you for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good night.